What's up, guys? Welcome to the Sales Wolves podcast. On this episode, we do a live Q&A, and I am absolutely blown away by some of the conversations we were able to have. My name is Tyler Harris, and I am a sales wolf. Ow! This is James.
This is James.
James, this is Tyler Harris, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, man. Did I catch you at a good time?
Sure, of course.
I'm so used to saying that. I'm so in sales mode. That's so funny. Of course, it's a good time. Hey, man, where are you from?
I am from Lake Oconee, Georgia.
Lake Oconee, Georgia. Nice. And tell me the question
halfway between Atlanta and Augusta.
Yeah, I am very familiar with that vast land where when I drive to Augusta a lot, and there's just one stretch where I can go about an hour without seeing another car that passes me.
That's exactly right. But right now, I'm actually standing in Columbia, South Carolina, and I just left Malden, South Carolina this morning. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, we're not too far from Malden. We're right up the road. Well, very cool, man. Well, what was the question that you had that you posted on Facebook?
My biggest question with success in sales right now is how in the world do you find competent, quality salespeople? How do you weed them out? How do you get them? Because I fired 3 in the last 6 months.
That's a great question, and I certainly understand the frustration with that, man. You know, I can only tell you from the experience that we've had in hiring tons and tons and tons of salespeople every single month, and that is with us being able to, with what I'm doing is just documenting kind of me going through my daily life being in sales, and the successes, the failures, the ups and downs, and all that. We've been able to attract a lot of people by doing that and by giving people kind of an example of what it looks like to work with us. And and really we don't even get very detailed. Like, we're pretty guarded on like our actual processes and the ins and outs of what we're doing every day, but just in the general like idea of the fact that I enjoy what I'm doing, and that it's challenging, and that we're competitive, and that we're very goal-oriented. We're attracting people that are like-minded, and then those people are reaching out to us for the opportunity. We run one Facebook ad, which is in regards to the opportunity to work with us, and we retarget people that have engaged with my content. And man, when we first did that, I was very, very nervous about that because, you know, I don't sell anything or monetize anything on my social media. So I was very nervous about that ad even running on my page, because I was like, oh, great. Well, people are going to think, okay, that's why this guy's doing this. Oh, here's kind of the reason why. And it's because he's trying to recruit people.
Here's the catch.
Yeah. So I was like, I mean, at first I was against it. And finally I came out with a message that I included in that. And I was like, look, I'm not in recruiting, but our recruiter says that this message is going to come better for me because I'm out here doing it every day. And we are hiring across the country. We need more people to go out and work hard. And so that's been big for us to get those recruits or those potential candidates in. But man, we have just gotten super, super refined in our process of bringing people on. We hire slow, which I think so many people, when they're building an organization and building a sales team, they hire fast and fire fast. But we hire real slow. Like, you know, for us, it's kind of like just as much them interviewing us as us interviewing them. Like, we want to make sure that this is the right fit for them and the other way around, but we want to make sure that this is a good place for them and that we're not setting them up to fail. So we explain like, hey, this is crazy long hours. It's an insane amount of work. It's more work than you've ever done in your entire life. And almost try to convince them not to do it. And if they're still interested and still fired up, then they're probably a good candidate.
I tried that last time, but my business partner and I have had a discussion going for about a month now of how to incorporate our culture, because we've both actually never worked for anybody in our lives to speak of.
Yeah.
And we're not used to, we actually have never really had a lot of people work for us. So we're we're in a time now with our business to where we really need to add about 6 or 8 people,
Yeah.
and they all need to be in sales, but we can't hold anybody's hand. So we're trying to figure out how to do what you're talking about and what you're doing with your podcast and your social media,
Yeah. You know, the other
which
thing,
is documented and create that energy to where people want
Yeah.
to be with you.
yeah, I mean, you're right. But one thing that I've found kind of holds people back from that is this idea of hiring 8 people. Like, we need 8 salespeople. We need 8 people out there crushing it. We need 8 people doing this and that. Is just
Yeah.
focusing on, we need one. Like, we need one killer salesperson to come on board. Let's find the one. And then from that one, you can kind of create all your systems around how you found that person, how you got them trained, how you got them out in the field, and how you got them, making some money. And now use them as kind of a success story to find the second and then the third. I think a lot of people can look at the situation as a whole in the fact that we need a sales team and forget that before they have a sales team, they need a salesperson. You know what I mean?
Missing the forest for the trees.
Exactly. Because it's a huge task to bring on 8 people. But the
Yes.
important thing is to bring on that first one and have success with that first one. And you may have brought on a couple that were failures, and you can learn from that, certainly.
They have been.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you need to bring on the one that goes out and crushes it. That was a fortunate position that I was in within my company. Is when they brought me on, they were like, look, we need you to set the standard and just put your head down and go prove this thing out. And I was like, sure, let's do it. And then they were able to use that as a way to then go and recruit a bunch more people. And so that's what you need, man. You just need that success story. And it's going to take way more work on the front end with that first person than it's going to take with the second and third and fourth and fifth. But you need that first success story to be able to tell a story.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like
Man,
that.
I really appreciate you tuning in and your question and just engaging with the content, man. It means a lot. And I'm in Georgia all the time, so I appreciate any Georgia folks getting on. Hey, I hope you
I
have.
spend most of my time in South Carolina, so it's okay.
I got you. Those are 2 good states. I spend most of my time
Exactly.
in Georgia, but I live in South Carolina, so that doesn't really make sense. But hey, man, I appreciate you and hope you have a good rest of your day, man.
You too, Tyler. Thank
All
you very
man.
much.
See ya. It's sat right here.
Hello, it's Mark.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Tyler Harris.
No freaking way.
Yes, freaking way. How are you, man?
Good, dude. How you been?
I am doing well. Where are you located?
I'm in San Jose, California.
Oh, that's awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool. Hey, so
Yeah, you're coming out here in a little bit.
I am. I'm coming out there. I'm going to be out there next weekend, actually. Then we're
Really?
going to be out there in June. Yeah. So doing a bunch of stuff out there. Looking forward
Sweet.
to it. Yeah, man. Did you post a question on Instagram or Facebook?
It was on Facebook.
Nice. What was the question?
So my question is, what do you do to stay calm and collect and like on point when an emergency situation comes up onto you, and it's just you got to do what do you do to keep calm, right? It just gets sprung on you. And I
Yeah.
had a situation happened to me on Friday. But if you want to answer the question, then I'll tell my story, whichever.
So what type of emergency are you talking about? Because there's a big difference between like a family emergency and like a business emergency.
Correct. So like a business emergency,
Okay.
or like or a job related emergency.
Yeah.
So like for me, last Friday, I work in construction.
Okay.
And before I even get there at 5:30 in the morning, I get a phone call from one of my electricians, and he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, dude, we hit a sprinkler line, right? And we're, water's going everywhere." So I'm like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
So I get going, I get going down there, and then there's just water everywhere, and
Yeah.
and the whole time I'm just trying to, slow down and get, calm and collect. Like, what do you do to get, when you're going into a fire, right?
Sure.
Or you're going into, something that you're not ready for.
Man, I
Like,
think the biggest thing is one thing that you've already done, and that's being aware. So the question he has, I'm going to repeat because we got Instagram going on here and they can't hear your question. And so the question was, how do you stay calm when there's chaos and there's an emergency going on? Like, how are you able to stay calm and and address the situation in a calm way. And I think the big thing is like what you've realized is that you may not have, and being aware enough to know that like, okay, this is an issue. Like I need to be more calm when it comes to these type issues. And for me, it's just the awareness of knowing that like any leader, like any great leader that you've ever seen probably had that characteristic. He was probably, or she was probably someone that was calm in chaos. And you know, we're always trying to like mirror what we want to ultimately be. And so I kind of just look at those situations and be like, well, what did they do in that scenario?
Right.
And what I know is that like the opposite of calm, you know, being chaotic and being, you know, all over the place and having your emotions running wild is never going to help in those situations, certainly. And
Yeah.
so it just kind of takes you looking at the situation and taking a step back from it, being like, okay, all right, here's the situation. This is not good, but let's figure out how to solve it. And who do we need to bring in to the situation to make this situation less chaotic right now? Like bringing those right people in, because like if you're coming by yourself versus if you've got, you know, in your situation, 3 or 4 different people, you've got contractors, you've got different people that are working.
So yeah,
let's
like
bring them all in.
when I showed up,
Yeah.
you know, there's 10 people like freaking out, and you know, I just walk in. I'm like, dude, you this way, you that way, you this way. Look, clean this up. Don't worry about that. You know. And then I was on the phone with like 3 or 4 people, a restoration company, the sprinkler company, this person, that person, just on point, right?
And a lot of that is figuring out like where do you start? Like what's the most important thing? Okay, you've got a leak that's coming, water's going everywhere. Okay, where's the source of the leak? And let's fix that first, because until the water stops, then we can't deal with all the damage that the water's creating. And man, just as I'm saying that out loud, that's like the greatest metaphor for like life. In any situation,
like it's universal.
Yeah, it's completely universal. So you're talking about literally water leaking, but in somebody's life, they're talking about a problem with a relationship, or they're talking about a problem in the workplace, and it's figuring out where that hot button, like where is that issue, and until we fix that and get the water from from flowing, then we can't even talk about the damage that's being caused by it. So I think attacking the source of the problem, but then man, it's just like I said, like knowing that okay, I'm going to go in a situation that's chaotic. And I've got to be the calm influence and know that everybody else will become more calm if I am. And just being a leader. Just being a leader.
Yep.
Yeah, man. That's a great question, man. I really appreciate you calling in, and definitely let's stay connected and all on either DM or private message on Facebook, man. Hope you have a good rest of your Thursday.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Hey, take care, Tyler.
Absolutely,
TJ, see you later, buddy.
I'll tell him. He just walked out, but I'll tell him. See you,
all right, later. Have a good one.
Yes, sir. Right, that was a great question.
Hello.
Hey, Randy. Is this Randy?
Yes, it is.
It is Randy. Hey, this is Tyler Harris. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for giving me a call, and thank you for what you put out for everyone.
Absolutely, man. It's my pleasure. Where are you calling from? Or where are we calling you?
Los Angeles area.
Los Angeles. Nice. That's a lot of California. I'm going to be out there next weekend, man.
Yep, I know you are.
Very cool. Hey, so what was your question you had?
Question was, 3 years ago you got into this. What was your transition? I think you asked Patrick about David. What did you stop doing that assisted you in just becoming a workhorse and crushing your day?
Yeah.
Just becoming a workhorse every day, day in, day out.
Yeah.
Is there anything you stopped doing or started doing?
Yeah.
From the transition process to being normal to being successful?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to repeat your question because we're on Instagram as well. They can't hear you, just Facebook can. But so Randy's question from LA was kind of what did I quit doing or start doing, stop doing in that transition 3.5 years ago when everything started to change in a positive way. And man, it's a great question, and it's an easy one for me to answer because it was the most important thing, really decision-wise, that I've ever done in my entire life. And it was I quit playing the victim. I was 100% content with playing the victim for about a 2.5 year period. playing the victim in that there was a job that I had been terminated from that I was doing extremely well in, and it was a crazy set of circumstances that came about, and this termination was completely unexpected, and I played the victim in that. The divorce that I went through, I played the victim in that. And I was just completely okay with just sitting back and saying, oh, these things happened to me, feel sorry for me, and using them as a crutch to really not go all in and not try. So from there, I haven't talked about this a lot, but I bounced from sales job to sales job at that time, like probably 3 different sales jobs that I bounced from, and was the worst employee of all time. Like, I feel so bad. There's a guy that we're still close with that was one of my bosses at that time, and it's awkward when I'm around him because I know I was just leeching off that company, and I was not trying. I was not putting in 100% effort. And what I know now that it was, back to the whole playing the victim, I was fearful of going all in and trying 100% again and having it taken away from me. And so that was a big fear that I had to overcome, because these things like, I was doing exceptionally well. My career was going all in, boom, taken away from me. Relationship, boom, taken away from me. And so,
Now,
go ahead.
I know that termination of your job and the divorce kind of put you in a place to really get back on board and make a change for your life.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people who have been in the corporate world? You know, I've been at a 9-to-5 for 14 years. I'm guaranteed a paycheck. There's comfortability there. Yeah. But I'm trying to make that transition to entrepreneurship and eventually become full-time. What advice would you give to people who didn't hit rock bottom, who didn't get terminated and just sat there and made that decision like you did and just became super successful, but the people that are comforting their lives right now trying to get out of it?
That's a great question again, and I'll repeat that. And so he was asking, so those that haven't hit that kind of rock bottom place and haven't gone through these traumatic events, that are in let's just say a corporate job, a 9-to-5, a salaried position where they're comfortable where they're at, but they want more and they want to start a business or do something on their own. You know, how do you make that huge change there and that transition into that lifestyle and make that jump? And for me, there's a lot of different ways you can attack this question, but I think the way that I look at it is, if you've got a tightrope walker and they got a huge net underneath them, and I can go pay to go watch this, I'm not really going to be super excited. You know, like, I'm not going to be thrilled about going to watch some guy that has that safety net underneath him, because there's really no danger involved. Like, okay, he fell, gracefully floated into a net and walked off. But if you throw a tightrope walker with no net up there, you know, I'll pay a bunch of money to watch that, because that, like, I'm going to be in knots the entire time because it's dangerous. You know, like, there's the safety is taken away. And I think each person has to realize within themselves what degree in which they can go all the way, no net, or they need that little bit of safety to kind of start and then build upon that. For some people, they just need to cut bait 100% and then say, today's the last day of this, the first day of that, and then go all in. That's some people's personality. Other people, they need to take time so when they get off work at 5, get home, see the family, have dinner. But once 7:30, 8 p.m. rolls around, you know, till midnight, it is just nonstop work on the other business, the side hustle, or whatever that may be, and until that becomes big enough to start replacing chunks of income in the full-time career, to where that transition is a little bit easier. I can't answer that for somebody, because, you know, the last thing I would ever want is someone that is in the latter example, taking my advice and the prior, which is to cut bait and go all in, and then finding themselves in a situation that is not for them. So I think everybody kind of has to know where they are, and that's why we talk about self-awareness so much, and kind of understanding where you are in that spectrum. But regardless, there has to be this idea of where you want to be, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. If 5 years from now, 10 years from now, it's running that business that you're now doing on the side, then your actions on a daily basis need to match that. versus if 5 to 10 years from now you still see yourself kind of working that job, but then also having this great side business, but that you still see there being kind of a mix of the two, then that's important to know, because there's a lot of great corporate salary jobs that have a great culture, a great environment, great benefits, quite frankly, that you can work and put X amount of effort in, from 9 to 5. And that gives you the flexibility to be able to, take time off when you need to for events, or, have that nighttime available, or that Friday or Monday that you can take off if you've got something extra that you need to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I know tons of people that have a great salary job that affords them great benefits and all that important stuff for a family to have. But then they have a great side business that they're, got substantial income coming in from. So, I think it's so individual, man, for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer your question at all?
Yeah, it did. It did help me a lot. It's funny, man. I just found out from your last interview that you're 33 years old.
Yeah.
I just got into life insurance on the side. Just got licensed a month ago,
awesome.
And it's funny that you're interviewing Patrick Bet-David, because I just joined his agency just recently. So I've been trying to transition that over from a full-time job. So I appreciate everything you do.
Yes, sir.
Definitely stopped watching TV and now watch your YouTube videos.
That's awesome, man. Well, that means the world to me, and I appreciate that. And if there's ever anything I can do to help as you kind of roll into that world of life insurance, man, I'd be happy to. So just shoot me a message, man. All right?
Thank you so much.
All right, man. Have a good day.
You too.
All right. So we're going to try Dean from the UK. All right. We're calling Dean from the UK.
Hello.
Hey, is this Dean?
It is, yes.
Hey, Dean, this is Tyler Harris. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Where are you located? I see in the UK, is that right?
Yeah, the UK, Greater Manchester, England.
Incredible, man. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Yeah, I'm great.
Well, good. Hey, how did you happen to stumble upon my content?
Well, I follow you on Facebook, and when I have the time to watch you, I do, or I read the comments and the posts that you post, and I read them, and a lot of it I consent to, but there's just frustrations that hit me, and I know if they hit me, they hit the majority of people, the average Joe, who isn't, let's just say, well off in life, hasn't got the education, has made bad choices, has realized later on in life, midlife, you need to pull your socks up. You start watching the Facebook and people like yourself, and you think this is great, but I'm at a place now where if I knew that 10, 15, 20 years ago, I'd be a lot better off than what I am now. And I think with maturity kicking in with age, and you have to make good choices, and when you want to make good choices, best will in the world, but if you just not got those steps, that foundation to lean on, you just kind of think, what's the point? It's hopeless. So when I'm contacting you now, I just need to know, where would you begin if the hustle had to be hard?
Yep.
And I believe hustling is hard. Where would you begin if you was rock bottom with the restraints of a 9 to 5, a 40, 50-hour week, set income, no education, time taken, family responsibilities? You just find that you've only got like an hour or two to yourself each day. Where under the barrel, where would you begin to kind of make that step to come up out from underneath the barrel and into the heights of the life that you portray as being possible and available for people to live?
Man, it's such an incredible and an important question. I'm going to repeat a little bit of it, but everybody that's watching on Instagram right now, just if you can go over to my Facebook page, you'll be able to hear these questions live. It'll be way easier. But basically, Dean's wanted to know, where do you start? If you feel like you're at rock bottom, or if you feel you're just in a situation where you feel stuck, you've got a 9 to 5, you're stuck at a fixed income, you only have a minimal amount of time a day, you have a certain set as far as skill set and education. You know, where do you start from to start hustling and to start building these things that you see other people doing? And man, I'm incredibly empathetic to that question, because that was exactly what I kept asking myself over and over and over and over 3.5 years ago. And the interesting thing is, like, as I say that out loud, I can hear someone, or I can envision someone hearing me say that, and they're like, oh, here we go. You know, here we go. Another guy that's going to say he was saying that 3.5 years ago. But like, no, like I was. Like, I can remember laying in bed crying and talking to my wife and being like, I don't know what to do. Like, and her being like, well, you've got to figure it out. And I'm like, I'm aware. Like, I've got to figure something out. Like, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I had a hard work ethic, but I couldn't find something to plug that hard work ethic into that would generate what I was looking to generate. And so, like, I literally was there 3.5 years. But what I found was that opportunity was never, ever, ever going to come while I was still just sitting around waiting. And so the job that I had at the time, and then the job that I went into, like, you can't be living this mediocre life of putting in half effort where you are now, even if you hate it. Like, even if you hate your job 100%, I promise you, you'll find a better one, and you'll find the one that was meant for you if you excel in what you hate, rather than so many people that just say, oh, well, you know, once the greatest opportunity arises, or once I figure out what I was meant to do, or once this opportunity of a lifetime comes, then I'll go all in. Yeah, that's what I was doing. I was just waiting and looking, but I wasn't going all in on where I was currently. And so that's the biggest piece of advice that I would give, is that opportunities will arise when you're excelling where you're at. And if you become the absolute best in what you're currently doing, that's when those other opportunities from relationships, or people hearing about you, or people just seeing you in action and saying, man, there's something different about that guy. Like, you know, he may not like what he's doing, but like, he shows up and he just absolutely gets after it. And then that'll come up in a random conversation. Then you'll have these things that just all of a sudden start happening. A lot of people call that the law of attraction. That's what I would refer to it as, but it's all based on your intent. Like, if you're going 100% all in, just hard at what you're currently doing, even if what you're currently doing is something that you hate, it will always bring about something that will lead to the next big thing. Not trying and not going all in, not going 100% will never lead to the next big thing. It'll always just lead to the next area where you're not satisfied. But man, as far as your education and like in background, like, you're doing it, like listening and watching stuff online. Like, I mean, anyone with the internet has access to an infinite amount of education and information. And for me, that was a huge part of watching videos and just learning from people that were out doing it. I mean, that's all I did, and that's all I still do, is just watch other people's content, and just learn from these people that I considered mentors of mine that I have never met in my entire life. You know? Does that answer your question at all?
It does. But where would you aim for passion, or would you aim for what
I would not
be the most lucrative for you?
So he asked if I would aim for passion. I would not aim for passion. I think there's a really important distinction there, and I've talked about this a few times. I believe it was CJ, a guy named CJ. He's does the business development for Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher, and he said it at an event I went to one time. He said, "Are you chasing hustle, or are you chasing," and then I thought he was going to say passion, like, are you chasing passion? But he said, are you chasing your gifts? And so the importance
Right.
is chasing your gifts, not your passion, because you can become passionate about something or you can lose passion in something, no different from a relationship to a job or a career. But your gifts are your gifts, and looking at what you're actually talented in. Like, what are those things that you can do easily that other people, it takes them forever to do? Or those things that you can spend a ton of time on and it feels like minutes went by that other people dread doing? And those are the things that you were born with. So I would chase those things and find out where those could lead rather than, I'm super passionate about football. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Like, do you have any talent? No. Well, but I'm passionate about it. Okay, great. Well, you can become passionate about anything. And so that's, when you're going all in on the thing that you were actually like the skill and talent and ability that you were actually born with, to me, there's something special that happens there. A lot of people call that congruence. That when you're operating out of those natural skills and abilities, you will become passionate in that situation. So I wouldn't necessarily chase after passion. I would just start finding things that you just happen to be good at. You certainly want to enjoy them, but I don't think it necessarily, like, for example, I sell life insurance. I'm not passionate about selling life insurance at all. I can tell people I am, and it's a lie. Like, no one's passionate about sitting down across the table from someone and saying, hey, when you die, here's what's going to happen. Let's figure that out. No one wants to have those conversations. But I'm extremely passionate about this phone call I'm able to have with you, in that the only reason I'm able to have that is because of the life insurance policies that I sold this week, because it gives me the ability to do all this other stuff. So you don't necessarily have to be passionate about what you're doing on a daily basis, but you can be passionate about what it gives you the ability to do. And I think that's super, super important.
Well, that is amazing, really, because I never really looked at, you see, it's always been told, like, what's your passion? Your purpose is your passion. But to make the distinction, to distinguish, your gifting and your passion, we're kind of following a passion being your desire. Well, I desire.
Yeah.
And I must chase what I desire. But if your gifting isn't toward that, and like you say, you're going to be chasing your tail.
Yep.
And
but
to also make a way, but to also use your current occupation as a means to make a way for you financially.
Exactly.
To input and chase that gifting.
Yeah, you're exactly
never
right.
really said that. Yeah, I've never seen it in that light before.
And another word to throw in there that's even more important is the word purpose. Like, there's a big difference between passion and purpose. And I think a lot of people become frustrated because they're judging their potential on the wrong purpose. They're judging their potential on the wrong purpose. So, like, I've got a MacBook sitting in front of me, and if I needed to hammer some nails into this desk, I could smack it with this MacBook, but it's not the MacBook's purpose. And if I judge this MacBook on its ability to hammer a nail, then I'm going to be pretty frustrated with the results. But if I judge the MacBook on its purpose to do the things that I do on it, well, then that's a whole different story. And so, trying to figure out what your purpose is, it's always going to come from where your gifts lie. It's not going to come from just the things that you happen to be passionate about at that time. There are plenty of things I was passionate about last year that I could care less about this year, And if I would have built a business around that, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
Well, that's really good. Yeah, that is to really pick apart and to take something from this conversation that isn't the usual, something I've never seen before.
That's awesome.
The distinction between passion and gifting. And because you can be deceiving yourself a lot if you're not understanding really what you possess right now. And I think people are kind of, they also say, well, I'm not gifted at anything, because we're kind of looking at gifting like, well, singing or playing an instrument, or they're not looking at, they're not understanding gifting. It could be diligence, it could be well organized. There's a myriad of gifts, that you could possess, but you overlook it because you're looking for the big gifts. Well,
exactly
that can make the big money, and like, well, I'm not gifted, so I just have to succumb to circumstance.
You're exactly right. That's why I always tell artists that I'm so envious of them, because when you see an artist, like when you see a musician that's gifted at the violin, it's so obvious, right? Like it's obvious.
Yeah.
Like this guy was born to play the violin, so he's playing the violin. He's incredible, and he's building a life around it. Like it's so cut and dry, easy. It's not as easy when you're a business person, or you're in sales, or you're in administration, or you're in construction. It's not as easy, but it's still the same. It's still the same idea. You know what I mean? Man, I really appreciate your question, and let's stay in touch, because I'd like to continue this conversation with you, and because, man, you are not the only one with this question, and it's probably a vast majority of people that are struggling with the exact same thing. But I can tell from talking to you, though, that you mentioned a certain base level of education, but you're a smart guy. Like you have a great understanding of what you're talking about, and I think it's going to I think it'll be a great kind of adventure that you're going to go down that path of what are my gifts, and you're going to figure it out, and I definitely want to stay in touch and see that happen.
Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate your wisdom and vulnerability with that. It's a genuine humility. You're not ashamed to show your skin, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You're not some gun ho big shot. I'm the entrepreneur. You're not.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's
kind of what sets you apart from the thousands of them.
I appreciate that.
I really do. Look forward to seeing what you post, and when I can watch Daily Bread.
That's
and
awesome.
and just you alone as kind of gave me this big question on my life. What else? Dean, is this it? What can you do? And I'm not. The question behind your voice, it hits me. No one else, listen to has kind of just has pricked my heart to kind of just take a second look and listen and think, hang on, what's this? This is daily but fresh bread. This is something new. It's not stale. So I appreciate it.
And that means more to me than you have any idea. And I want to see where that goes. So definitely keep me posted. And I don't say that as just like a way to get off the phone. I mean that. Like, send me some messages. Keep me posted on your progress, and I'd love to interact with you.
Will do, brother. Thank you.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your day.
And you. Bye.
All right, thank you.
It's Brian.
Hey, Brian. This is Tyler Harris. How are you, man?
Great, Tyler. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Where are you?
Good to hear from you.
Where are you located exactly?
I am in Lawrenceville right now.
You're in where?
In Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Ah, yes.
Great little town just outside of Atlanta.
Yep.
In the northeast corner.
Got it.
So
tell me what your question is, my man.
So I see you out and about, and I watch your videos, and I comment all the time.
Yeah.
What drives you more than anything? And I know you were talking about you sell this many life insurance policies a day.
Yeah.
What really drives you to do that? Is it the money? Is it the recognition? Is it just the fact that you're able to outdo somebody? Like, what is it that drives you, and what would it be for somebody else that isn't? I mean, I'm not a sales guy and never claimed to be and not going to be. I'm an IT guy by my chance of my degree and my personal life experience. What is that ambition like for you, and what could you share with people like me that are not the sales guys that just want to have that same ambition, same drive? What is it? I mean, like, explain to me. Tell me a little bit about that.
So let me repeat that question. And TJ, can you hit the close button on there on that low battery screen? So for the people that are watching on Instagram, he's asking, like, what's the drive? Like, what's the drive to get out there and to perform at a high level? Is it the money? Is it the recognition? Is it the competition? Is it what is it that kind of is the ambition behind going out and doing all the stuff that we're doing? Man, I'll tell you. Do you need to answer that?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
They can wait.
I'll tell you. It's evolved. Like 3 years ago, I would tell you it was 100% the money because I was broke.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these things, they evolve over time. And for me, that evolution and that transition has gone from it being about me into being about others. And I think it's a way bigger topic of just personal responsibility. In that once I took, and not only, and only until I took that personal responsibility and figured that out, like, okay, yeah, money, at first I was broke and I was in debt. And so first thing was, okay, got to get out of debt. Did that. Next was, okay, now I got to get a substantial amount of money that I can feel comfortable in savings and in investments and things like that. Okay, did that. Not until then could I look up and look to my left and right and say, okay, who else can I help? And who else can I maybe drive to do the same thing? I think that's an important distinction to mention, because there's so many people out there that you're seeing online and that we all see online on Instagram and Facebook that, they're out there, selling this idea of success and, 0 to 6 figures in 6 days and, all these things. But they haven't really figured it out for themselves. Like, that is their means to that end, is the selling of all these things. For me, it was just having taken that personal responsibility and finally figured my own stuff out. I knew that because of what I went through, that there were so many more people just like me that were in that early stage process. And if I could come in having just gone through it, like to where it wasn't 20 years removed, to where it wasn't being read in a, autobiography after I die, to where it was fresh. Yeah. Like fresh, not only in that I remember it, but fresh that I remember, like I can feel it, like I can feel what it was like to be, just incredibly, just depressed, because I felt like I was stuck and I wasn't where I was supposed to be at the time where I was supposed to be, and just felt like there was no answer. And, I remember what that feels like. And because it's so fresh and because I can remember it, it drives me to put this message out there to help that person that's feeling that right now. And so that's what drives me every day. Like the sales side, when you're in sales, there are sales skills that can be learned, and you can become a good salesperson. People aren't born salespeople. They're not born with that. Like that, all that stuff can be learned. And I learned that stuff along the way, to where that's kind of just unconscious. It's like, just for me, it just happens. And so I don't have to spend that time focusing on that process now. I can spend the time, outside of those meetings, in what I can do to give back and what I can do to provide value to other people, and know that the sales will take care of themselves. But that being said, I'm an extremely competitive person. Extremely competitive. And I'll just be super transparent here, since we're on live on all these different platforms, and say that over the last month, that has been a struggle of mine, is my competitiveness, because within our organization, we have contests going on all the time, and different trips that we're trying to, qualify for, and different events that we're trying to qualify for. And there was one that the contest period was ending, here, I think it ends this week. And I'm in like 3rd place. And it still like wakes me up at night, and like the fact that I'm in 3rd place. But I also have these other responsibilities that are on my plate, which is, my corporate side of the job and all, but I'm still in the sales. Like I'm still in the field selling every single day. And for the fact that I'm in 3rd place for this particular competition drives me absolutely crazy. And this concept of giving that up because of this other stuff is very, very difficult for me to grasp. And like literally as I'm saying that, I'm like I can feel it in my gut. It's very uncomfortable. Because I just hate it. Like I hate the fact, like I'm just telling you, like I hate the fact that in May there's going to be an awards banquet and I will not go up and win that award, even though I know why. It's because I'm doing all this other stuff. Like it's still like when that person walks up there, Dirk, I will want to punch him in the face. His name's Dirk, and I will want to punch him in the face. Now he's a great friend and I'm happy for him, and I'm the one that recruited him into this business because he saw a random Facebook Live I did in the middle of the night, but I still will want to punch him in the face. So I think it's just that that balance. But for me, every single day, it's become all about being able to help others and seeing what this thing can turn into with all the social media stuff that we're doing. Like the sales stuff, I will always be able to do that. But now it's just legacy. I mean, that word right now for me is so huge, is legacy, and just creating a lifestyle, for my family, creating an environment for my family that's not just comfortable, but that's second to none. And then helping other people do the same thing.
And I shared a picture with you. I tagged you in about servant leadership.
Yes,
and I know you liked it. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that whole topic of servant leadership. Do you feel like that's something we should be pushing for as leaders inside of our organization?
I think it is. I think it's the only way to lead. I mean, to me.
Okay.
Because servant leadership, my definition of servant leadership is just leading by example. And that's the reason why I'm still so competitive. Like, I'm not a great sales leader as far as the training aspect, because that's just not my set of skills. My business partner, Nathan Wells, who right now is 2 offices over from me, training somebody right now, like, that's his skill set. He can train like no other, and he enjoys that process, and teaching someone and then watching them go do it. That's just not me. I can be a sales leader, though, by showing them what's possible and by going out and executing on what they're supposed to be doing on a daily basis. Like, I don't want to ever tell somebody to go do something that I didn't do this week. And that's just the way I like to lead. But to me, that is servant leadership, because the best possible way I can serve the other people on my team is by showing them exactly what to do by actually doing it.
No, you're absolutely right.
So, like, I think it's unbelievably important. But when you look at like an executive level type leadership, I think it's so easy to find the servant leaders, because the servant leaders are, back to where we first started this conversation, they're those ones that have taken that personal responsibility and that they have taken care of themselves. So they've got that like on lockdown. They're like, I'm good. Now, how can I go help, Joe? How can I go help Brian? How can I go help TJ succeed in their life? Because helping them succeed in their life and helping them get what they want, what's that, the old Jim Rohn, probably. Help people get what they want.
Classic Jim Rohn.
But like, you can sense that in people. Like the owner, the CEO of our company, you can 100% sense it from the first day I met him to a second ago in our leadership meeting we had this afternoon during lunch. You know that he is more concerned with my well-being than his own. At least it feels that way. I mean, there's obviously the necessity of caring for oneself, but you can tell that he is 100% focused on me when he's talking to me, TJ when he's talking to TJ, Caitlin when he's talking to Caitlin, and has that vested interest in them, and that has nothing to do with him. Like, he'll have situations where what he's telling that person is actually not good for him. And that may mean that they need to go do something else. And Gary Vaynerchuk's another incredible example of servant leadership. Like, he'll tell people, like, look, like, I don't think you need to work here. I think you need to go explore this thing that you're obviously interested in, and you need to go, he calls it taste. You need to taste. I think you need to go taste those things. And then if you want to come back. But if not, not. Like, being willing to tell someone that, like, hey, we want people that are just living on fire and that are excited to wake up every morning and do what they're doing, whether that's with us or whether that's somewhere else. Like, it's just, having genuine, interest in that individual, man, it's huge. And that's what a servant leader, like, you can pick those apart from a crowd every day. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, man. I'm glad we finally got to talk. I know we've been kind of connecting back and forth and a lot over the last year, probably.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was thinking about. I'm like, man, I've taught this guy off and on for almost probably 6 months to a year, and he's always in Atlanta. I'm more than 30 minutes away from Atlanta. I didn't give him time, and I've never seen this man one time. But that's the cool thing about Atlanta, and that's one thing that's kind of drawn me to the city.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed being here over the last since I retired from the Army. I came here and I was like, you know what, this is gonna be my home, and make it what it is.
Yeah, man.
And I've enjoyed every second of it. So.
Awesome. Well, man, thank you for putting the question up there, and I thank you for engaging with everything. It means the world to me, and I hope you have a good rest of your Thursday, man.
Oh, my Thursday doesn't end. I will be out late tonight. I have a meeting with my fellow veterans in Atlanta.
Awesome.
We do a program called 4 Block, which is a career readiness program to kind of get us in front of Fortune 500 companies and talk to senior executives there.
Awesome.
We're doing an event tonight at UPS, so that's really exciting. And
is there a website people can go to check it out?
Yeah, the website is 4Block, FOUR.
FOUR.
Like the number 4, block, BLOCK.
Okay.
Like
block.
building block. .org.
.org.
And they have cohorts all over the country.
Awesome.
We have Atlanta, we have Tampa, we're starting Orlando, Washington, New York, Philly, LA, San Francisco, Seattle. They're starting in Dallas. I mean,
Awesome.
we're all over the place.
Link it up put it in the comments here. That way people can go check it out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And, just it gives a chance for people like myself that's a post 9/11 veteran,
Yep.
a chance to be in front of people that make decisions.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, you're not going to be able to walk up to UPS and say, I want to talk to the executive vice president of logistics.
Yep. You're right.
They're going to be like, who are you and why are you here?
Yep. Exactly.
So,
no,
it's a great thing if you have, I'm sure you guys have veterans coming to you all the time.
We do. We love it, though. I mean, that's a big part of who we are and who I am, too. So,
yeah.
That's awesome. Well, cool, man. Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you, Tyler. I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
Have a great day.
You too, bud. I just realized, guys, by the way, when my pant leg just went up, for those of you that can't see, I've got on iced tea socks on right now. And it's just iced teas. Not iced tea like the drink, but the wrapper. Oh, that is Easy E. You're right. Oh, I didn't even. That's bad. It's Easy E socks on right now. But, anyways.
The last caller is
Santana. It's going to be the last call.
Hello?
Hey, this is Tyler Harris. How are you doing? Are you there?
Holy crap.
Can you hear me?
How are you?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. I've
be
enjoyed your
like
comments
30
lately.
minutes,
I've been seeing them a bunch.
yeah, I follow you quite a bit.
That's awesome.
I love everything that you do.
Thank you. You say you're getting ready for work? Is that what you just said? Are you there? Cutting out.
Yeah.
There you go. Hey, so did you have a question for me?
Yeah, so my question is, how do you, if you're like not in the right mindset, like almost confidence-wise, like your ambitions aren't necessarily matching your actions because you don't have the confidence to necessarily do the things you want to do.
Okay.
How do you get into that mindset where like nothing, like you don't care what people think, you're not, concerned about your parents or your friends or like where it's just you and the mindset of you doing it. I kind of struggle with, your friends will kind of make little comments or, like people judging you because, you have an ambition to do something, but when they say those things, it kind of pulls your confidence level down. Absolutely. And then you're not taking the right steps to match your ambitions because your confidence isn't necessarily matching what you want to do.
Got it. And I'm going to repeat your question so that people on Instagram can hear it. It was basically, how do you have the ability to go and not care what other people think and have the confidence to go all in, and when those people say certain things or make fun of you or poke fun, and have it not take your confidence down to a level where it takes you out, and doesn't where you don't continue on the path that you're on? Like, how do you have the confidence to do so? And this is such an important question. It really is. And like everything that you just mentioned, I've been through recently and still go through. I mean, when I started putting this stuff out on social media, I there wasn't many people that didn't make fun of me. The ratio of making fun versus not making fun was not pleasant. And justifiably so. Like, I get it. Like, I 100% get it. Anytime you're trying to do something significant, it's going to make people uncomfortable. And that's probably the first thing that I would tell you, is that if you're getting that type of feedback from people, that it probably means you're onto something. It probably means that you're doing something important. And so that's kind of one of those good indicators. But I think, Gary Vee says this a lot, like, don't care what other people think. And it's just a lie. Like, you're never going to not care what other people think. You're always going to care. I think the big thing is just not letting what other people say and what other people do affect your actions. Like, you're going to feel it. Like, it's not great when someone says something that's hurtful or says something that, makes you question things, but it's just not letting it impact what you actually do moving forward. Ryan Mickler, recently we did the Daily Bread vlog with him on the Breadwinner podcast, and he mentioned that, you don't have to care what everybody thinks. He said, but you want to care what certain people think. Like you mentioned, like he cares like what his wife thinks and what his kids think.
Yeah.
And what certain mentors and certain people that he has in his life thinks. And I think that's, certainly one way of looking at it. But still, to say that random friend that you went to high school with that you don't even talk to anymore, and they post a comment, or you hear through the grapevine that they said something about you, it's impossible for that not to affect you, as far as, make you feel a certain way. I think when you are laser focused on what you're trying to do and the impact that it's going to make, and when that's locked tight and that's strong, and that's the only way you're going to be able to push through when those things are happening. So I think it's, staying focused on the end goal, whatever that is, like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like if everything happens perfectly and if everything is a great success, what does it look like in 10 years? And to be able to have that vision and that picture in your head all the time, so that when you do hear those things, like, yeah, it's going to affect you. But then you think back again, okay, 10 years from now, if I keep plugging away, like this is where I'm headed, can help. But I say that, and I can tell you just honestly that I look back when I first started putting this stuff online, and when I did start getting a ton of that negative feedback and that kind of, who is this guy and who does he think he is and what is he trying to do, and this is silly, or this, he thinks he's full of himself, and all these things, or these preconceived ideas that people had that didn't really know what I was doing. I often look back and I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't know what kept me pushing through and what kept me doing it, other than the fact that I just had this gut feeling that it would turn into something impactful. Like I just knew. I can't put my finger on it. I can't tell you it was like a certain thing I said to myself each time it happened. I don't know. But
were there certain people, right? Like, did you have certain people around you though that maybe helped you through all that? Because I also struggle with finding like connections with people that have the same mindset.
Yes,
it's hard to just connect with somebody random, if you know what I mean. Like, if you're not around those people,
I understand exactly what you mean. And I think yes and no. Like, my business partners didn't understand. They do now, but it's 14 months later. They didn't understand at the beginning. And I can understand that from their perspective, because any time I was spending on this was time that was taking me away from the business. My wife didn't understand. My parents didn't understand. My sister didn't understand. My best friends didn't understand. I think a lot of that is what you're doing, right now, and reaching out to people that are doing it, or that have, maybe been through that before, and feeding off of their content. Like I consumed every piece of Gary Vaynerchuk's content that existed, probably multiple times. But it was from that, and from hearing him say these things over and over and over, that I believed myself as well. that I could just hang on the fact that like, okay, like he's saying it, he's living it, he's doing it. Like, okay, you know, I just need to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. I mean, it sounds funny to say, but like it's called self-confidence for a reason, right? Like it's got to come from yourself. Like no one can give you that confidence or take it away from you. Like you have to allow them to take it away from you. And so I think it's just auditing what you're allowing in. And there may be people that you just need to quit hanging around with.
Yeah, no, well, no, I have done that, and it's kind of, you know, it's tough though, because you want to, you still want to like have friends, right? Like you still want to have people you can talk to, and so, but no, that like what you just said, everything you said was just, you know, it's exactly what I've been thinking, but it's, you know, it's hard if you're not, like if you're thinking it, but no one else is like.
And there's
like,
there's a balance too. Like I'm the biggest one to talk about the lack of balance, but or the fact that there's no such thing as balance, but there is a balance there. Like I have not done a great job at staying in touch with my friends. And it was nothing, it's not like what I just said to you, like there may be some people you need to get rid of. Like all of my friends did not need to be gotten rid of. None of them did really. Like, you know, there may be one or two here or there. But I pretty much alienated myself from all of them. And it's cost me because I don't really ever hang out with any friends anymore other than the friends that I have that I do business with. And that's not good. That's not great.
Yeah, no, I'm feeling that too. Like just staying, because I work second shift.
Yep.
So from 3 to 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm working, and then I wake up at like 9, and you know I go right to work. You know I go into my my laser focus, tunnel vision, side work that I do. You know, and I don't have time necessarily to hang out with people. Or I do have the time, but I'm focused on other things.
But I think you though, like you can be the judge of that. Like no one can judge you for that. I think you have to be the judge of that in your happiness. Like if you're doing that and you're happy, great. If you need to hang out with friends every now and then great. Like I don't think anybody else can give someone advice on what their certain
level of hustle.
Well, what their equation for happiness should be. You know, like mine is very different than yours. It's very different than every person that's standing, you know, near me right now. But I think it has to be. You have to audit it frequently. You have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay, am I happy? Yeah. Well, then keep doing what you're doing. You know, like keep grinding it out. Okay. And that's the importance though about aligning yourself to where you know what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. Because if what you're doing as far as work wise, that's taking up so much time, if like, you know, that's part of your purpose, and if you know that it's going to create something impactful, and you know, like, then you know, and it's worth, you know, there's going to be a risk and there's going to be sacrifice in anything that's significant. You just have to make sure that, you know, you're not sacrificing for something that, you know, is not what you're supposed to be doing. Because then, you know, they say that, what is it? Success without fulfillment. What is it? Success without fulfillment is the ultimate form of failure. Yeah, success without fulfillment is the ultimate form of failure. But I would say failure without fulfillment is probably even worse. You know, I mean, so
like you're working so hard and it doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that makes sense. You don't want to alienate yourself to a point where you can't go back. Like people usually get it too. Like, you know, friends, like I know friends of mine, like you're not burning bridges. You're just focused on other things right now. You know what I mean?
No, and I never, like, I didn't grow, like, I always kept my circle pretty small anyway, even as like a teenager, and like when I was younger, I had a couple of good friends, so like I'm not really necessarily worried about burning bridges. But I don't know. Yeah, but I like everything you just said though. Like I'm so happy that you actually called me and you got to answer my question.
No, absolutely.
We got to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
like,
it's
everything
important.
you're saying is like.
It's so important. I mean, you're talking about
goals.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about happiness. I mean, you're talking about, I mean, it's lonely. Like the road to success is extremely lonely. Like like I love how I can say something like 238 nights in a hotel last year, and like people just kind of like, huh, it's just kind of like, huh, that's a cool thing to say. But like people don't realize how miserable 238 nights in a hotel room is. And I'm not staying at like the Ritz-Carlton, you know, like, I mean, this is not like Lifestyle of the Rich and Famous 238 nights in a hotel. This is like the
dirt.
Yeah, the dirt is exactly what I was about to say. The dirt, like but again, like if the light at the end of the tunnel is something significant and something great, then it makes it tolerable. And it not only tolerable, but it like when you're doing something that you know, aligned. Yeah, it's just aligned. It's aligned, and you know that there is a purpose for it, and that's really all we can ask for. And so that's just what you gotta focus on. Like you gotta get that picture in your head, like that picture of everything succeeding 100%, what it looks like, and be able to call upon that picture like in an instant. Like something happens bad, boom, picture it. Something happens bad, boom, picture it. And then just know that if you keep on pushing that, it'll happen. So I'm glad we were able to have this conversation. This is awesome.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm so happy. Yeah, me too.
Very cool.
I've been following you for, I don't know. I think actually like on a Facebook ad is like how I found you.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I actually scrolled past like the first time, so I was like, oh, who's this guy? And then like you kept coming up, all right. And then you must have had like a video or something, and I watched it. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
So
well, and I appreciate you saying that, because it means so much to me, because I mean those ads cost money, and as you know, like we don't bring any revenue from this, and so like that's money that could be spent on a vacation this weekend with my family. But the fact that it got you to not scroll by that 12th time and got you to actually click on it, and now we're having this conversation, and now everything is aligned and what I'm trying to do, and then maybe impact what you're trying to do, like that is the ROI for me. And I don't think people really understand that. Like just like you just gave the most practical example of scaling. Like we talk about this idea of scaling impact. Like that's it. Like that is the example. Like money that was spent on a Facebook ad that, where do you live again? Where do you live?
I live in New Hampshire.
New Hampshire. So money that was spent on a Facebook ad that happened to pop up from someone that was scrolling on Facebook in New Hampshire, that didn't see the first ad or didn't click on the second ad. Third ad was uninterested. Fourth ad, was like, who is this guy I think he is? Fifth ad was like, okay, this is getting annoying because he's showing up everywhere. And then finally that 10th ad or whatever it was that you clicked on enabled us to have this conversation. And I mean, that's the power of all this stuff. And that's the power of just putting good stuff out and then good things happening in return. Like that's the best example I can possibly give. And I'm so glad you were the last question, because that's the best way that we could possibly end this Q&A. So I really, really appreciate you asking the question and jumping on and being vulnerable and all that good stuff. And I appreciate you following too.
No, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope you have a good shift today.
Night shift grind.
Yes.
All right.
That's awesome. All right. Have a good day.
You too.
All right,
bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching episode 60 of the Sales Wolves Podcast live Q&A. We're going to be doing a lot more of this, because as you just saw, if you've gotten to this point, those were some impactful conversations and some just great, valuable lessons that I think we all can learn from. So with that, I am Tyler Harris. I am your host, and I am a Sales Wolf. Ow!